Happy Sabbath, friends. It is my pleasure once again to come back to talk to us about the armor of God. We've already been told that we must put on the whole armor of God, Ephesians chapter 6, and we are reading from verse 10. And today we are simply looking at verse 16. We've already learned about the articles of the armor of God. The imagery we have is we are a people that are on the battlefield. It is a war zone, this life that we are living in. You don't need to be told, but look at what is happening. God's children, we are at war. But how are we to fight this war? Paul says we must be dressed appropriately as a people who are on the battlefield. And so far we've learned that the articles of our uniform include the belt of truth, which is Christ in us, and we must be a people possessed by truth. And we've learned about the breastplate of righteousness, which is that we should have our hearts protected and we should be desiring to do right at all times. And we've talked about having our feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. And we learned that as God's children, we are not gossipers. We are a people on a move with a mandate to tell somebody that Jesus is coming again. And today, Paul says in verse 16, above all, taking on the shield of faith, with which you will be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked one. Now, friends, Paul is simply saying, as we are on a battlefield, we need to recognize that there are fiery darts that are going to be thrown at us. Now, you see, those darts will come in many forms. Some of us, these darts are being thrown and daggers are being thrown in our own homes by those that we love so much. Somehow it feels like we are not at peace in our own spaces. Some of those fiery darts are being fired in our workplaces. We've been in those environments for years and we've been loyal, but somehow the devil is throwing daggers at us. Some of us, our communities, they are throwing stones at us. Somehow we've become public enemy number one. Yes, some of us, because we love the Lord. Those that hate God are throwing daggers and stones at us. Friends, the Bible says no weapon formed against God's children shall prosper. I want to tell somebody here, Paul is saying, when you put on the uniform of God, do not forget to take the shield of faith with you. It is only the shield that is going to keep us protected from all those darts of the evil one. Friends, I want to put it to you that you see, the darts are sure. The darts are coming our way, whether we like it or dislike it. Because when we choose to follow God, we become public enemy number one of the evil one. And therefore, we must walk this life in faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Without faith, it is impossible to be victorious, for faith is our victory. I want to suggest to us, faith is believing that God is able. Faith is knowing that God will take us through any situation of this life. Faith is knowing that when we get to that place between a hard rock and a hard place, God will be able to redeem us from that. Faith is knowing that when our backs are pushed to the wall, God is faithful. Faith is knowing that God will not bring us this far to leave us. Faith is knowing that God is the good shepherd who is leading this path. Faith is knowing that because he took us from this place, he who began a good work with us and in us will see it to the end. So Paul says, above all things, taking on the shield of faith, believing that he who said is coming is truly coming back again. It does not matter how many people mock the gospel, but we shall continue to go in faith. We know that we are a people that are on a mission, telling the world that God is coming again. We should do so in faith. He says the fiery darts of the wicked one will come. Now, friends, this is a promise. This is a sure thing. The devil is not going to sit back. He is not going to kick back while we are taking over the world with the gospel of Christ. This is why you see, friends, when you look around you, People dislike the gospel. People want us to come and twerk on these social medias. People want us to come and do all sorts of things on social medias. But when we put the gospel of Christ, there are some who mock this gospel, but we should continue in faith. Yes, you may be failing in health. Yes, marriage may seem to be falling apart. Yes, children have gone astray, but God's children ought to continue in faith. Faith is knowing that God has a perfect plan for his people. Faith is knowing that when we commit our keys to God, he is faithful to bring them the right way. Faith is knowing that our God has us in his hands. Faith is knowing there is still balm in Gilead. So our sicknesses will not be able to take us out. Why? Because we still have Jehovah Rapha on our side. Faith is knowing that no matter what comes our way, God will be able to take us through it all. Yes, in the valley of shadow of death, God is faithful. For his rod and his staff, they will continually comfort us. Faith is knowing that goodness and mercy are behind us at all times. Faith is knowing that we will get to the end of the journey. Friends, I want to put it to us, you see, there will be fiery darts of the evil one. As you are listening to me, you know that the devil is working extra hard to pull you down. Friends have betrayed you, but faith is holding on to God. Faith is simply saying, Father, hold on to me. I have no power, but you are all powerful. Father, I am weak, but you are strong. And therefore, Paul said, brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. And so the article we must take away from today is simply asking God to give us faith. Faith to continue negotiating the terrains of life that we have to go through. Faith to know that God will be with us to the very end. I want to speak to somebody who wanted to give up, somebody who thought this is the end of the journey. Friend, it's not over until God says it is over. Faith is the victory that we have. We are serving a God who knows. We are serving a God who hears, and therefore the just shall live by faith.